Hi, Nuhu. Welcome back. I'm going to have a little discussion today about videography versus cinematography, or better yet, videographers versus cinematographers. Because I think there comes a point in our careers where we start questioning whether we can call ourselves cinematographers. I know I did that. And I think it's easy to say that in one side, I think there's a continuum, a spectrum between pure videography on one end and cinematography on the other end. On the videography end, you've got Uncle Bob at, let's say, a christening for a kid or somebody's wedding or filming their niece's or nephew's school play. And he's just sitting in a chair, 15 rows back, has a camera on like 20 time or 50 time digital zoom, no tripod, the picture's all over the place, things are going in and out of focus, the exposure's all over the place. His only job and his only desire is to capture that event and make a record of it. That's videography. On the other end of the spectrum, cinematography or cinematographers, it's very easy to say that if somebody has letters after their name like ASC or BSc, they're cinematographers, they're part of a society. If they're in a union, like the cinematography unions, they're a cinematographer. And there's a lot of real estate in between what is definitely being a cinematographer and what's definitely being an Uncle Bob videographer. Using my own history as an example, the first things that I started filming were freight trains. And I've mentioned in past talks of mine, I love freight trains. Love taking pictures of them way back even when I was a kid. And one time I borrowed a friend's little digital 9, I don't remember what it was even called, a beta, whatever, and went out, stood next to trackside, waited for trains to come, and I filmed them. And I was there with my 20 time digital zoom. I didn't know that you were supposed to have a tripod. So if you look at, and I hope you never do, don't look at my videos of trains from those times, pictures all over the place. My focus, in and out. I had no clue that the sun, which was my light source, should be in a certain space to make a good picture. Or if the sun was, let's say for instance, on the wrong side of things, I didn't know how to fix exposure to make a dramatic video where something was backlit. So my train tapes, my freight train tapes, all over the place in terms of quality. And I didn't realize how bad they were, which was the amazing thing. Looking back at them, I didn't realize they were bad. Of course I do now. But back then I was just like, ooh, trains. Fast forward to doing weddings. I started doing weddings and had no idea about lighting things still. And a lot of weddings, as you know, are indoors. Well, I upgraded to a tripod and I was using one camera. And I sat there and I filmed, say if I'm filming a ceremony, I stood probably in the aisle or somewhere to the side, camera on a tripod, locked off. That was it. I learned about exposure, so my exposure was usually correct. And that's what I did. My shots were boring, but I was making money doing it. I was still a videographer. It didn't matter that I was making money. That's still videography. I wasn't controlling my situation at all. And that's another important point between videography and cinematography. With videography, you're just walking into a scene, a room, or an event, and turning the camera on. And you can't control anything. You can't control where people are standing. You can't control where the lights are, whether lights are on or off, what color the lights are. Cinematography, you get to come in and even if you're shooting outside with the sun, you get to diffuse the sun, bounce the sun, block the sun. You get to modify the light. If you're inside, you add colors to lights. You place lights where you want them to be. You choose whether it's soft or hard light. The director and you work out blocking. You figure out where everybody's going to be standing for the best light. So anyway, when I was doing weddings, still a videographer. And then one day, and I remember very well, I had a couple, they were kissing for the photographer. So you know they were kissing, they were holding this kiss. And the sun was behind them. And I walked around to the front of them and I shot them. I want to say shot them. I took video of them with the sun behind them. And it was a revelation. I saw the way the highlight bloomed behind them and they were almost totally in profile. It was such a dramatic shot. There was probably even wind in their hair, you know, just let's make it perfect. And I thought, holy crap, that looks good. And I started to do that, I'm telling you, in every single wedding video I did from that time on. I also started to incorporate a slider. I incorporated more cameras. And even for receptions, I would sometimes, if I had the room to do it, I would bring in side lights to light the people giving the toast, to light the bride and the groom for their reactions. Was this all cinematography? I don't think so, but I think it was damn good videography. What I mean by that is, I still could only control a little bit of my environment. I brought in lights to help during the reception. I also started, using different angles to shoot. So instead of just the camera on the tripod looking right there, I would get down on my knees and I would shoot up. During receptions, I would get up on a ladder. I started bringing a step ladder and I would shoot down into the crowd. So at this point, I'm maybe not controlling light, but I'm at least adding light where I can. I'm shooting from different angles. I started thinking about my backgrounds. I started shooting against the light or into the light, especially to reception. If the DJ had a bunch of flashing lights somewhere, I made sure that I was filming toward them so that the people that were dancing were backlit, side lit, kick lit, whatever you want to call it. So I think I was a much better educated videographer. When I moved into corporate and commercials, I learned the basic 3-point lighting. And this is, I think, when I became a cinematographer. I was deciding, always had small teams when I was doing the corporate stuff. I would decide where the talent was going to sit, the talent being the customer or a team member of whatever brand I was working with. I could decide where they would sit. I could decide the angle that I was shooting them at. I could decide what the background was. I could decide to light the background. I could decide to darken the background. I could decide to use a book light with them if I had the space, or just an umbrella, or a softbox on them. So at that point, I became a cinematographer. A great cinematographer? Probably not. Great cinematographer now? Probably not, because there's always so much more to learn. So I think that there's the kind of fuzzy area between very educated videographer and novice or beginning cinematographer. There's a point in there where it switches over. And I don't know exactly when that was for me, but it was sometime between shooting really good wedding video and shooting pretty good corporate commercial stuff. And it's really fun and enjoyable when you get to that point somewhere in there and you can say to yourself and to other people, I'm a cinematographer. Hope you enjoyed this, hope you come back, and if I didn't mention in the beginning, which I probably did, click subscribe for more content when it comes out. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you. All right, bye-bye.